by Sue Minahan.
Welcome to Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Rose Minahan and her panel of guests bring you insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for soul growth. Come journey with us through astrology's energetic cycles and get ready to understand your path in the cosmic roots of the stars.
Of Talk Cosmos, Insightful Conversations. And today is the day after the solar eclipse. We're in that luminous time where the light shifts from on, off like a strobe with the eclipses. It was a solar eclipse yesterday in Libra, late Libra, going across the southern part of, well, sort of the western south part of the United States, down the continents into South America. And ahead of us is going to be the lunar eclipse. However, today we're talking about another issue that is pertinent because for 2 months we have a dwarf planet, yes, Eris, that dethroned Pluto and upthroned Pluto, because Pluto is now really in charge of all these dwarf planets. Who would know? Sitting underneath, deep in the crevices of the underworld. But yes, there's more treasures to hold. And Eris is important and conjunct, very exactly so, at the same degree, the North Node at 24 Aries. So this has a lot to be talked about. It has about exclusion and inclusion in our consciousness. That's major. It's either in or it's out, just like a baseball team, right? What inning? You're out. Okay, well, we're not. We're going to begin. And there's a lot more. Eris is also the sister to Mars. I don't want to give away the whole thing, but there's a little bit, few snapshots that if you understand a little bit of the backdrop, how vital and importance of this that she is. Okay, oh, and those dates, just to give you a little heads up, because you're wondering, okay, 2 months when? It was back in September on the 26th. We're here a couple weeks later on the 15th of October, and it's going to be all through October, all through November until the 29th, just before Halloween. Okay, now we are ready for our wonderful 2 master astrologers. Alan Clay, master astrologer. And can I have the slides, Nate? I don't have this off the top of my head, although I can certainly give it anyway. Yeah. And for those folks, Alan Clay founded Dwarf Planet University in 2020, just when I did my YouTubes. And he wrote a book prior to that in 2018, Sedna, a great reference about this dwarf planet that's on the outer reference of our solar system. And the big hurrah for today is the second textbook, Maki Maki, Uranus Higher Octave, is being published on Amazon. And there's a special giveaway today if you get hot and trot to your app on Kindle, because you can download it for free. Just write a little review and say, hey, yippee. And so that's today, and I think it'll be tomorrow. It'll come up again. But his Dwarf Planet University, I'm a graduate, and my other special guest, Melissa, is also a graduate of Alan's wonderful classes that illuminate this consciousness deep into our soul, into areas that we didn't know. However, that doesn't end with Alan. He had other achievements. He is a filmmaker, editor, producer, Courting Chaos, which is about his professional clown instruction and manual that he actually wrote. Also, Angels Can Fly. The trickster and clown energy is huge. It's evident with this dwarf planet, but it's in life. It's everywhere. It's all across the universe. It isn't always as we think. Wait and see, as people say. And Melissa, Elvira, oh, you know what? I think I forget. I've forgotten L in your name. I'm so sorry. Billington is a yoga teacher, actor, author, playwright, blogger, and an astrologer. And she's worked all across the world and produced her own show, a very fascinating one, Pocahontas, as it was actually in her legacy of life, genealogy-wise, and also has done comedy stand-up right now, and is a yoga teacher, has her own brand. She's taught, again, everywhere you can think of and anywhere she can find. and studied astrology with Graham Bell, and of course is a graduate along with me, an assistant teacher for Alan, very instrumental and co-author right now with Alan for these 2 books, Hamea and Maki Maki. And watch out, there's several more yet to come as we go along. However, Melissa is enrolled in Master Environmental Management at University of Queensland, Brisbane, because she's taking this intellectual prowess and putting it mainstream to integrate. It'll be very exciting, right up my alley. The ocean and the world, we need her. So check out her blog, Trust the Longer Journey, at Substack. It has lots of information. And me, here's me for those that look at the YouTube, you can find out. So we can begin. Hi, Alan. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
It's exciting.
Thank you for having us here.
Well, so rising and shining in Australia, not like even here, but we're all with the sunshine.
I'm literally facing the rising sun.
It's cloudy here in Canberra, so we haven't got the sun this morning.
Oh, well, it will. I know. I don't know how many. I know some people really saw the eclipse yesterday. I saw photos that I hadn't realized, so it wasn't totally missed.
Very powerful. Very powerful.
Since we're dealing with the nodes, I thought we'd begin just saying, what is that? Node is an intersection point by description. Lunar has it with the moon, its path. It crosses the sun's elliptic path. So these are points. This graphic explains it. It's real. Astronomy is something to study. However, an important feature is the ascending and descending. The ascending is going upward, and it's the north node. It actually starts at Cancer, which always has seemed curious to me, but it does. And it would be, that would be the summer solstice here in the northern hemisphere. Of course, you folks are in the other hemisphere. I know. We really need to have a talk about how they coordinate.
Yeah, we're coming to you from the future. It's actually the 16th of October here.
yeah, that's exact. So here again, this Aries North Node for our audience is it started this summer on the 17th of July, 17, 18, depending where you were. And it goes all the way through this year and next year up until the very beginning of January in 2025 for a year and a half. And Aries, of course, the archetype ruled by Mars, is about identity, your very self, your decisions, your choices. Any comments that you want to make?
I particularly find these Saros cycles fascinating. I've looked at a few. They're like rings on a tree. These 18.6-year cycles are called Saros cycles, and they go back for hundreds of years. And it's like they have a almost like a slinky going down the stairs. Like they have a lifespan, and then they come to a stop. They start and they come to a stop, and so it's interesting to see where they start and where they stop, and also to look back if you have enough lifespan to be able to look back, 1 or 2 cycles to see what happened. So for me, in 2004, 2006 was when I was looking to stay in a relationship or break away and we ended up moving to New Zealand from the Caribbean and then splitting up. So it was very much an Aries Libra dynamic for me at that time as well. So
It's potent for myself also. Thank you, Melissa. And I agree, because in the sorrows, they go back 1,200 years. And since this is trying to think, a total, it's right in the middle. Or is it? It's a lunar eclipse. No, it's not. That was it was a solar eclipse. That was total. This is not. This is at the beginning. So it wasn't that long ago, and I didn't bring up that info. Was it major for?
I don't think we're going to get to it all.
Well, we will. We'll kind of skirt around. It's good. I know for myself, I took care of my dad then, moved, and big beginnings and endings. It's always significant.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So one of the points that I love is that the lunar north node, especially in Aries, Isabel Hickey, she's a spiritual astrologer. There's some kind of noise going on. Is that me?
I can hear that. It's like a reverb or an echo.
Yeah, a little bit. At any rate, she is focused on spiritual astrology. And that is all up our alley, I know, because with the dwarfs, it's all about spirituality. And the focus here is just to add that what she says with Aries is that before you give yourself away, you have to have a self. You know? Yeah.
Beautiful.
Oh, I think, Alan, maybe do you have headphones? That you...
No, I'm not using headphones. Should I be using headphones? Is that?
If you could, it might. StreamYard. Sorry to bring attention.
If I can, that's all right.
Yeah, it seems to echo.
I can probably do that.
Has a different. It's immediate. It's a little bit like Uranus, I think. It doesn't delay like who might be catching up. I don't know. But again, this last part about, I think, Melissa, you saw when we change our attitude. Did you want to comment on that? There was something.
It feels brilliant for, the bigger picture of Eris in particular. When we change our attitude, we start blessing that which we are fighting against. And I've been thinking about Eris and what's happening in the world in that realm. So I don't know if we want to get right into Eris or. Because that's kind of a preview of what's to come.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I think it's best with these dwarf planets to get into it when we're there, and that way we can build the picture as it comes. So yes, I think that's why don't we jump in from there to Eris, because blessing what we're fighting against. I mean, we tend to think with Eris, she's the goddess of discord. This is the traditional view that comes from mythology. She's the sister of Mars, and they, are always in battle together, and she never leaves the battlefield until there is no one else standing.
Relentless.
She's totally relentless, and she can muster enough power to overcome anything. And so, but these dwarf planets, they act differently. They're talking about aspects of consciousness. So inside Saturn, the planets are aspects of personality, outside aspects of consciousness. And how they affect us in our lives depends on our current level of consciousness, obviously. And yeah, go.
Would you say, Alan, also one reason it's so relentless is because she wants inclusivity. Well, it could be the exclusivity for revenge on a lower level of consciousness, but that requirement to be included, something that they want included. Of course, Eris herself knows what needs to be included, the whole schmoz. So that's where it just kind of keeps rolling.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Well, I feel like what you said, even for revenge, I feel like a revenge is, we could say a lower consciousness of that desire to be seen and accepted, to be included.
You got it. Yes.
Yeah, and the mythology really brings that up. How about these higher octaves? Alan, that's such a strength of what you
This is just one way for us to understand these outer planets. So they're aspects of consciousness. Let's think Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto are the newly discovered outer planets before the ones we're talking about here. And so they are aspects of consciousness: Uranus, intuitive consciousness; Neptune, spiritual consciousness; and Pluto, psychological consciousness, all the baggage, the underworld, and dealing with that. One way we can understand these outer planets is to think of them as a higher octave of an inner planet energy that we know well. And traditionally, Pluto has been thought of as the higher octave of Mars, where that active energy can, at a more spiritual level, is a sort of transformative, and still has that sort of Mars demanding sort of, if you're not sensitive to it. And I suggest that Eris is the higher octave of Pluto, because she's obviously the sister of Mars.
That's it. The whole family.
And she usurped Pluto, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's just, who would invent all of this? It's
and
just.
You've got a beautiful diagram there of orbits. I'm not quite sure which one's Eris there, but the reality is that Eris orbits at 44 degrees inclination to the ecliptic. She's the most inclined. Pluto is 17 degrees, so he goes in the underworld. What is that? Well, he's on an angle. The ecliptic is consensus reality. It's all the inner planets go in an orbit. It's the same orbit, same plane. And the dwarf planets cut through that. Pluto cuts through it, 17 degrees. Now, Eris is 44 degrees. So she's going to be a lot more,
incisive.
Yeah, incisive.
It is. It really adds. That's
Incisors.
like half a square. That's a deep, steep incline. It's true.
An overview and an underview, in terms of perspective.
That's it. And it's all valid for Eris.
And I just wanted to touch on something you have on that last slide, Sue, of the radical activist. Radical is I love etymology, the roots of words, and radical comes from the word root, radix. So it's the origins, the roots of things. So when we're just talking about overview and underview, literally that underview, looking at it from way down, deep underneath, as well as above.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
That is good, because I know those are words that I was reviewing my own notes that from Alan, and radical comes up, and I hope I had that correct there. But an activist is really action is what she wants. And here, this is just again for folks to specify those dates, and that it is during the eclipse season that Eris is conjunct the North Node, and giving us this intense laser moment of inclusivity and exclusivity. So
on our destiny is what we need to point out there. So the North Node is our destiny. It's that point, as you say, that's ascending, the node that's ascending, and so it's where we have work to do. We must go there and do that work. We tend to want to hang at the South Node because that's where we're familiar. We've got strengths there. We've also got karma. We've got stuff that we need to work with, and that makes us feel valid and important to work with that. So we tend to hang around at the South Node, doing all of that stuff that we know we should do, and and not going to the North Node and doing the stuff that's going to create karma, going to push our life in a new direction. And Eris being there, let me just come to, is she's got that inclusive sort of light that she wants to, everything must be included and valued for itself. So on the North Node, where if we're shy of going there, having Eris there is really going to pull us there. We're going to get some clarity at this point about what we're here to do on a practical level. It's not so much a soul mission, but it's on an earthly mission here.
May I just add in a personal kind of pictorialization of what you're talking about from last night? I was given a a ticket to go see flamenco, which I studied and love. And that's very, I would say, Erisian quality. It's very fiery, and the woman performs and the man performs, and it almost seems like a battle. And so I was trying to get there and ended up having to call an Uber, and it was going to be 7 minutes till he arrived. And then all of a sudden it was 14 minutes. And I was like, am I going to get there in time? Because they're going to close the doors. They're going to lock me out. Yeah. And he pulls up. I go to open the door and it's locked. And I'm trying to open the door to get into the car, and he pulls away. And I'm like, this has never happened to me. I don't understand what's going on. I don't have any time to waste. So I get on and I get another Uber. And literally, you know how they tell you who the person is. And
oh no!
It says Karma is on his way. That was his name. Amazing. And for me, the reason I'm saying this is because my sun is pretty much conjunct this Eris North node. It's a little bit wide, but I'm definitely feeling these qualities of, you know, being excluded and included, and what that means, and also the wrap up of what is karma. And so on the ride, this is a Buddhist man from Bhutan whose name is Karma. I asked him what karma means to him, and he said, well, it means cause and effect, but it also means star.
Wow.
Interesting that we have that.
Yeah, that fixed stars are huge with that whole
Wow.
Well, even, you know, Alan, your book, New Stars for a New Era, right? So we talk about the planets as being stars as well.
That's
wandering stars, right? Yeah, that's what planet is.
Right. Exactly.
Wandering stars.
Exactly.
Well, this inconvenient truth, agent of sacred chaos for illumination. And I was thinking about the South nodes gives fodder, like food fodder for us to navigate and to readjust our perspective, because there's shadows, parts of that you know that we need to exclude. But and it is interesting, and Melissa, what you're saying about cause and effect, because Aries and Mars is very much about incisive directions, choices, and decisions, and creating karma everywhere.
Everywhere. And it's a matter of, you know, he was also saying that if you do or say something positive, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will come directly back to you. And he was also talking about lives, which kind of gets into Sedna and a soul's path of destiny across lives. But he was saying that it influences your reputation, what people can say about you. So even if the effect isn't immediate because of time, on being on a bigger scale, there's a reputation established. So karma is both positive and negative. So it's being more aware of the impacts of our intentions, right?
Absolutely. That's it. Totally. Yeah. So, and here we have the judgment of Paris. That's let's talk about that myth for people so they understand Eris there. I think that's a good one.
Okay. It according to history, it was during 1260 to 1180 BCE. That's before Common Era. And I think the point, I love Dane Ruchar, which I know Alan inspired you greatly and inspires myself too, and I'm sure Melissa, that he says Eris is transmutation of life into love. Yeah. And this idea that she's reveals as a catalyst intentions. And I begin that before the myth, because the myth is all about a wedding where Eris was rejected. You want to go on?
No, you go.
I can jump in with another personal experience of this. I've literally experienced this in my family, of being ostracized from my grandfather's wedding, and having my mother be ostracized because another relative, because of dynamics. And what I find interesting is the story, I'm looking, yes, you have it in here, of Through the Golden Apple, which inscribed on it said, to the fairest, right? And what it did was brought out the ugliest. So
well, that's it.
that like kind of prompt of who's the fairest created this dynamic of the ugliest part of people coming forward.
But I think, if I might, thank you, because to me, that is immediately, there's a choice always. And they chose either or, not and both. If they realized, that they'd all had strengths and they looked to the other to say, oh, but you are, of course, then they could argue about who was the best, right? I mean, back and forth. It's like, I'll pay for dinner. No, I'll pay for dinner. No, I'll pay for dinner. It's like, it's
totally. So perhaps we should just sort of tell people the myth, because just very quickly.
Please.
So Eris wasn't invited to a wedding, and everyone else was invited, and she threw in a golden apple into the wedding.
She showed up anyway. Yeah,
she showed up anyway, and threw in this golden apple, saying, inscribed, "To the fairest." And all the beautiful women immediately started fighting over who was the fairest and who could have the apple. And so that's and so I think, you know, what I would draw from this in terms of her action in our lives is she's inciting our natural reactions so that we can see where they lead. And at the unconscious level, they often lead into that sort of judgmental, competitive situation. And that's going to end up badly. That created the Trojan War, that wedding. And, you know,
it was a matter of dominoes, of effects. That's so true, because of these three goddesses, they each had something to offer. And Zeus, the god of all, chose a mortal. And so I think it really relates down to our mortal choices. And it was whether there would be power, wisdom, or beauty. And again, it asks us to find out, what is this idea of beauty? If we go into the golden mean that Venus or Aphrodite suggests, it's this larger picture of symmetry and growth. And besides that, love essentially, like Dane says, is the basis. Like, what is judgment without mercy? Or what is power without compassion?
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Also,
I
wanted to drop in there this moniker that she has of being the goddess of discord, and recognizing chord music, which you would know, Sue, more intimately than I do, but that when we're aware of something being off key or disharmonic, that's then what creates the impetus to create harmony, to bring it into harmony. So the focus, I think, is a little bit shy of the overall process, you know, because we're seeing the thing that's going, this is upsetting, but actually that upset is leading us to greater harmony when we address it.
Thank you.
It's true, because there's certain musics that are always without that discord, as we could say, with different chords. But there's also from this, and I appreciate you saying this, and then we'll have to break away as we see the time is there. The discordian, there's this whole idea of discordian that came out in the 1800s, I guess, from this whole myth. But it says that Western society has this penchant. I think that's using it right. Thank you for order, and that chaos. What is chaos except just rearranging things?
That's right. That's right. We actually need discord to grow. So there's you know, without discord, things stay the same.
And I think for teacher, well, here now we're really going over, but in the clown mastery, I'm sure you use this sudden improvisation. I mean, it's a hallmark.
There are no mistakes in clowns, so it's all Eris.
We will return then with Alan Clay of Dwarf Planet University and Melissa Elvira Billington. This is Talk Cosmos, talking about Eris and the North Node. Come right back. We have lots more, and thank you.
Thank you.
we take a break from this week's edition of Talk Cosmos, let's take a look at this cycle's archetype. We are currently in the Yang period of Libra, ruled dually by Venus. By leaving the lower hemisphere of the self, the energy of Libra enters the arena where the completed self meets the other than self to form a relationship based on partnership. As a cardinal air sign on the descendant angle, represented by the equinox of equal light, Libra's energy learns through comparison and relationships, with the intention to integrate duality and polarities.
This is Martha Norwalk. Every Sunday morning, beginning at 9 a.m., thanks in part to newprosupplements.com, we cover the world of animals. This week, October 22nd, get to know the people behind Animals 24/7, an online independent newspaper and information source about animals and humane issues around the world. Merritt and Beth Clifton and their work is amazing. And they'll have the latest about the animals in Israel and Gaza. Martha Norwalk's Animal World, Sunday morning, 9 a.m. to noon, right here on Alternative Talk, AM 1150.
Talk Cosmos brings insightful conversations to awaken consciousness for the soul growth with hour-long programs every Sunday at 1 p.m. Pacific on KKNW. Talk Cosmos weekly programs are also available to watch live on the Talk Cosmos YouTube channel and Facebook page. While you're there, make sure you click the like and subscribe buttons so you get the full Talk Cosmos experience. Or if you'd rather listen to the show archives with audio only, the entire podcast collection since 2018 is available on most podcast carriers. And to find out about upcoming programs, sign up for the newsletter at talkcosmos.com. So grab your coffee, tea, or kombucha and enjoy the show.
Alternative Talk, 1150 on AM, 98.9 HD3 on HD, 1150 kknw.com on the web.
Well, that was exciting. That was a new recording, and I like it. I like it very much. That was exciting. Well, Nate, if we could go back to our slides. Okay, because what we're going to show right now, we can always go back to these, but I always ask, we'll have to go back, our guests, what's happening? And I know, Alan, you have a big occasion today about the book that you and Melissa wrote, Maki Maki.
So huge weekend where we've just launched our second textbook at the uni, and this one's on Maki Maki. Maki Maki is the higher octave of Uranus, which is the higher octave of Mercury. So we can think of the intellectual trio. Mercury's ideas are networked by Uranus, and that network addresses a bigger understanding, culture, a nation, a whole context, which is Maki Maki. Maki Maki is the model that we have of the world. We've sort of
so
our
exciting.
Understanding, yeah.
So
Totally.
a free Kindle download is available. Is that today and tomorrow?
I mean, go as soon as you can to Amazon and get it. It will kick out probably in the next 24 hours at some point. Yes, I mean, then it's just sort of $11 or something. So it's not expensive anyway. But we're giving away as many people who can download it. It's a promotional offer. And we just ask that if you like it, write a review, post something on social media, or tell a friend. We're trying to get the
I know I am going to
going. Go.
purchase it as I did the other because it's good reference. And this whole idea of the cultural basis. We have a slide at the end, I think, that will bring up a little bit about that in our class. And then again, this is Alan's book, Sedna, and the first textbook that he wrote with Melissa, and your clown manual that is the go-to for
Modern
that world. Yes. And then your Dwarf Planet University with all the different classes. This is just right at the bottom. It's dwarfplanetastrology.com.
Mm-hmm.
So there, and right
Beautiful.
now,
Thank you.
Yep. We have all these.
So we have
Mhm.
about going to say, with the community program, we've probably got 150 students at the moment on courses, and which is pretty awesome. This is the most we've had. We've been running now. Is it almost 3 years? I think it is. And so
2020.
Yeah. So
officially, you had some courses before, but I think
I did. That's right. And that's right. Yeah. So and look, can I just say, since you're both sort of part of the experience, what I think people sort of should know is that so these are new aspects of consciousness, and we onboard them fairly easily over a 6-week period with each of them by just studying them in our chart in our lives. We look at our house position to start with for the first 2 weeks, aspects in the next 2 weeks, and transits in the final fortnight. And in that period, we kind of see how the planet is engaging and has engaged with our life over the period of our life. And by doing that, we enable it, and that consciousness is there for us to use from then on. So we don't have to, like the yogis of old, go into the cave for years and meditate and not eat, and we can just do a 6-week course.
It's so insightful. It's so insightful to have that time to really digest, and it takes time afterwards too. So I strongly applaud and welcome the whole experience. It adds a whole nother matrix to experiences that you've had with other intentions. It all gets down into this, because spiritual and with Pluto and intentions and the greater scheme, and they work together. It's like synergetic too. I'm just totally glad.
I would have to add in there that the ongoing community, whether it's just dropping into the student common room or continuing to take classes, which a lot of people do, is what gives the web for those new embodiments of consciousness to continue to deepen and be more embodied. Because I think I'm always amazed when people can evolve when they're in the midst of all of the sticky threads that made them the way they are.
Yeah.
So as we're shifting and transmuting, recognizing ourselves, I think it's really helpful to have the reiteration over and over, and that's what I found. It's been officially 3 years that I've been working with Alan in some way or another, but I started 5 years ago with the release of Sedna. So just having the perpetual ongoing is like,
it's valuable.
Deepens it.
Absolutely. Yep, it does. It's a process. Here, let's focus on you, and then we'll get right back to the show again.
Okay.
And that is trust a longer journey. I love that, which is very spiritual and everything. But this is, go ahead. What is coming up with your life? That's
my life. Well, you can see at the bottom there that I've gone from being an artist in many of different forms, really, and still do that, to the healing arts. So creative arts and healing arts have always been a big part, and nature and love of environment. And I had become activated into activism, particularly around water, in 2014, when I was given my first prayer song from an Indigenous elder in the Americas. And so I was doing what I could with what I knew with the yoga and the art, and trying to motivate people to care about nature in a more active way. And just got to a point where I felt like I really need to inquire into the science. And I think this might have been particularly motivated as well by the exposure to Maki, to that kind of bigger picture of,
good point.
I mean, I've always loved research. That's part of what I love in the work that I do with Alan.
So, Melissa, thank you, because I wasn't really clear, and this is very good, but I am thinking that people can get into this Substack and find out more about all your creative projects and your school and everything else. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. That sounds great. We're going to jump right. Thank you both so very much. we've been touching on this, but it's a fair society. And I think what I want to do is just go back real quick, if I can, to where is it? Because at the very end, we don't have too many. There we go. Okay. It's Nathan, can you give me slide? I think maybe I can do it. Here, these two, because in the last time Eris was in Aries was 1392 to 1521, because it's every 560 years. It is a long time. And I searched and I found two instances where it seemed to relate. The first one, this is just to show, because we want to get back into what is this Eris and this North Node, and we've brought it up so well about our destiny and our karma, and it's been beautiful. But in 1456, when Eris was in Aries, this was at the South Node, though, but it was one of the closest spots at a solar eclipse that I could tell within my general research that I did just last night, that there was a retrial of Joan of Arc, and she was acquitted of heresy. And I thought that really said a lot about this Eris energy, a woman that, not to say that it's just within women, but she does exemplify this very beautifully. Yeah. And the next time that was the closest that just popped up was in 1484. And this woman, Anna Regerin, she was the first typographer. Her family was, after Gutenberg had this printing press, but she inscribed her name. And I guess other people hadn't done that. She was the first woman, but she happened to do it on this compendium that she printed of customary law, called in German Sachsenspiegel, which is the story of how, what you're telling about. And it's all about the customary customs and that. But from the Holy Roman Empire, I was just shocked how notable this was, that it was a woman who did it, something that was from the Holy Roman Empire from 1220 to 1235 of the existing laws, and it was still used until 1900. And it was the first time.
Yeah. I just wanted to add in what I noticed about these two examples, which are amazing, that you found, is that this is on the North Node, right? And the Joan of Arc was on the South Node. And
Correct.
When you look at the information for this one, it's into the future. Like, if we're talking about the North Node, the Dharma, like what we need to do.
Yes.
Whereas the Joan of Arc was the South Node, which was reconciling something that had been done wrong, right?
Exactly.
Reconciling the karma. That's amazing.
I
can't
love
make this
that.
stuff up.
No. So here we are. It's like, I don't know if these go into some of our thoughts. If you have like a fairer society, isn't that what really Eris?
What she's coming to? I think, yes, she's the goddess of pluralism at the top level. We talk about, so I say, these planets are different depending on our level of consciousness, and goddess of discord at the unconscious level. We tend to think of Pluto and Neptune and the dwarf planets as being unconscious influences. This is the standard view of it. But they're only unconscious if we're unconscious of them. And so once we become conscious of them, it changes. And so that's the goddess of discord at the unconscious, goddess of pluralism at the top level, where everything is valid. People can believe what they want. I can believe what I don't need you to believe the same as I believe. It's okay. I can believe what I believe. You can believe what you believe. That's all good. And that's the top level there. So that's what she's encouraging us towards, and it's just a matter of allowing that. I think it's basically the way we have to
Which to me seems obvious, and we're shifting scientifically as well from this idea of competition to collective and co-creative or collaborative, which is exactly what happens in nature. Yes, there's a little bit of this animal will take off the weak in this other subset of animals, but overall they're coexisting. And the fact is, we are all on this planet together.
That's right.
Are we going to see that and work with that? Or are we going to continue to?
Yeah.
Exactly.
There is this. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to. We're at a kind of crucial point in history where if we don't see that holistic view, we are going to die out as a species. Probably, we're going to, drive ourselves extinct through our actions.
Yes, and I think going back to the mythology of the wound, thinking that Achilles, who was supposed to be the greatest warrior, and that's what the marriage was between. They had this child, Achilles, and Achilles was the greatest warrior. And what does that say? It says that, and who chose but Paris, immortal, but his mother dipped him in the river Styx to immortalize him, but holding on to his heel, didn't put her hand in, I guess. And that's where he was vulnerable. And he was taught by Chiron, who also had a wound, as it turns out, from his own, his, well, it was a long story, but that arrow was poisoned by one of the many stories of Hercules. That had also been another student. But it gets back into these wounds that, isn't that in a sense what we're doing when we choose this or that instead of seeing some unity? But, in the war that's in now, unfortunately, in Israel, it has interested me to hear on the news how some people are giving such compassion for both sides of the innocents. And that could be somewhat an opening to this idea of Eris.
I think definitely life into love, Eris, is what is needed there. I think what's going on in that, Haumea has just gone into Scorpio. Haumea is an activist in Scorpio. She's a fire goddess and a water goddess, and so repression is not going to be allowed in this next period. But how that'll resolve doesn't look happy in the short term.
Well, no, and politically speaking, I was just looking at the best side of one little indication of hope, that it wasn't just boo hiss. I mean, the grief is just it's shocking. Yeah, and
it's going to be a rebirth. It's going to be a rebirth. But one of the discovering
but
of
it's
it.
glad to see that little part of people at least bringing up the fact that the inclusivity that everybody's involved. That's
Just to reiterate what you had said, Alan, towards the beginning about Eris, is that she doesn't leave the battlefield until the battle is done. I feel like that needs some emphasis, that we potentially could get to an end of battling. And it's her desire to end the battling. It's not her desire to stay on the battlefield.
No.
I wouldn't say. And
No.
to fight, it's her desire for there to be harmony and to not have a battle in the first place.
Exactly.
But if this is what it requires to get there, then she's going to stay in for the long term.
That's right. Totally. And have enough power to do it. So,
it really does return to that idea of the commonalities that we have, and to maybe celebrate the differences. There is that too. Obviously, every flower has its own color. Every flower and has its own need of shade or sunshine. And that's not to say that one is worse than the other. It just is what it is. So
creating bridges.
Yes.
Right.
Oh boy. Now, time is such, we could look at what I was thinking is, I wasn't trying to just flip around. I was going to show the chart that we have right now, but this is a bi-wheel. And the reason I brought up this bi-wheel is because if on the interior bi-wheel, if you can see this chart, it is a lunar eclipse, which is ahead of us, right? I mean, we just had one yesterday, but in 2 weeks we have one coming up, and it's a lunar one. So the sun is opposite the moon, but it happens to be at the north No, because it's a lunar eclipse, and the lunar eclipse,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
in part, just to keep ourselves geared here, is within 12 degrees, within the necessary degrees, because it has to be within 18 degrees of the nose. It would be an eclipse for a lunar eclipse, and it is. And the point being, we wanted to bring up Makemake a little bit. So I looked here and I saw, now for those folks, in my earlier slide, it shows, maybe I should go back to it. It shows all these little icons, what they are. I should have just shoulda. But at any rate, let's see. I can find out.
We can just talk about them.
Yeah. And I'm just going to bring my mom in for a second, who would say, quit shitting on yourself.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Here it is, though. There is the first slide, because you can see that there's the points down there. And I also named them for people that want to study this that are on YouTube. But the point is, if you look here, we'll look at this slide first. Makemake is 9 degrees Libra, stays there a long time. It's very slow. And it is sextile to Varuna, which we have not mentioned about, but it is a higher octave of Saturn, as Alan has taught us, and about nobility, what we do in life, that nobility is bestowed upon us through our actions. So there's sextile, 60 degrees. It means a connection. It's a flow, a harmonious flow that's going back or connecting. But meanwhile, if we look at Saturn, it will make in February a yod. And that's what I was going to bring up, because that's about our culture, our nobility, and the laws. So looking at it from that regard, jumping forward now through time.
So this is a yod between Makemake and Saturn and Varuna and Saturn. Is that what we're saying?
Yes. Let's see if I can find. Nate, can you get me back to slide whatever?
Slide whatever.
Okay. I'm sorry about this, folks. Okay. Here we are. I'm back to wherever. Slide 22.
22.
Even numbers. Yeah. So here we have, and on February 29th, which isn't that far away, Saturn is exactly at that 9 degrees. However, then of course everything else morphs a little, and Makemake will be at 10, and Varuna is retrograde, so it'll be at 7. So it's getting a little wide. It's 3 degrees. But Saturn is going to be conjunct the Sun and Mercury. So it's going to be the 3 of them, meaning our essential what's fundamental to us was Saturn for our thoughts and our will. And I can't, to add to it, Makemake is also going to be squaring Quorar, that likes to sing and dance, creation. So hopefully it'll be quite creative, yes, about our actions. Don't know.
So what would I say about that? I'm thinking, so we're talking Saturn is in Pisces there, and and that's at the point of the yod. So it's something about our structure, the structure of our lives, that's happening at that time, and it's getting a push-pull. The yods are push-pulls where sometimes they work and sometimes they don't work, and in that sort of in conjunct, we sort of find why it works or make it work, depending on how we do it. And so they're coming from this Makemake, which is our understanding of who we are and who the world is, what the world is, and it's the model that we build of the world. And Varuna is our sovereignty. So that's the higher octave of Saturn. We have to claim sovereignty. We have to say, I can do this. And other people have to say, you can. And
thank you, Alan. If I might say, because we have about a minute here, if you've segued that beautifully, I noticed too that Varuna is also the apex of a yod, meaning all this that we're doing now with Eris, and that's Taquara, singing and dancing, and what you're saying, doing what's necessary, has some hope and merit for the future, right?
Yay. What a good interpretation. Moment to end on.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Shining a light on our service. So the yod is pointing to the 6th house, right?
Yes.
Where Saturn is reflecting opposite is to that 6th house of service.
So do, refine and keep going. And what a treat. Here, I want to see all three of you on the big picture. Can you see all three of us?
And let's just do a shout out right at the end for people to download the Maki book. So search on Amazon for the astrology of Maki. Make, M-A-K-E, and it's free. So do it.
And find out where we are in our cultural rebirth, because it really is exciting time. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you, Alan.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining an insightful conversation on Talk Cosmos, the show where Sue Minahan and her panel of guests awaken consciousness by connecting soul growth patterns with astrology's energetic cycles. Be sure to tune in next Sunday, 1 p.m. Pacific Time, to continue your journey through the roots of the cosmic pathway.